The Extractives Industries Transparency Initiative is calling for more transparency in the management of Uganda's Petroleum Fund to ensure funds are being put to their intended use. Gloria Mugambe, the head of the institution secretariat, says although Uganda has done well in aspects like revenue collection, management of the fund needs to be improved so Ugandans can know how much is in it and how it is being used.
Following the discovery of commercial oil deposits in Uganda, in 2006, officials at the Bank of Uganda, led by then Professor Emmanuel Mutebire, quickly mooted the idea of the Petroleum Fund.
The bank put up what we call the Petroleum Investment Fund. So it's a fully fledged office.
Established under the Public Finance Management Act of 2015, the fund would comprise of all revenues from oil-related activities like income tax, value-added tax, withholding tax, and other taxes. Proceeds from the fund would strictly be spent in specific areas as laid out in the Act. The two core functions of the fund are funding the budget with a bias to infrastructure and serving the future generations by developing human and technical capacities of Ugandans. By the end of 2017, 2 years after its establishment, the Petroleum Fund had accumulated 422.9 billion shillings, approximately $100 million, with more deposits expected in the subsequent months as interest in the Ugandan oil and gas industry expanded. Before long, a cash-strapped government was salivating over the growing pot of gold in its backyard. In a tight borrowing environment, rather than approach the conventional lenders, the Ugandan government chose to raid the Petroleum Fund to bankroll its expenditure. It would not be the last time, as between 2018 and 2020, the fund experienced drastic reductions from 62.9 billion shillings in 2018 to 56.7 billion shillings in 2019, down to 35.5 billion shillings in 2020. But how exactly were these funds utilized? Were they even used as prescribed by the law? The Bank of Uganda, which is charged with the operational management of the fund, says that the answers are with the Ministry of Finance's Accountant General. So our next step is at the Ministry of Finance. To date, the Office of the Accountant General has been tight-lipped on the expenditure of the monies withdrawn from the fund, despite our many requests. Gloria Mugambe, who heads the EITI Secretariat, says that more openness and transparency is required in the management of the fund.
The write-up is good, but when it comes to the people, how are the people managing? Because ideally, the Petroleum Fund is supposed to be used only for infrastructure, money for infrastructure, and ideally it should be infrastructure related to extractives or to the oil sector, because this is strictly oil.
In his 2021 report, the Auditor General also cited delayed remittance of revenues to the Petroleum Fund by the Uganda Revenue Authority as another challenge that the fund has to grapple with. The Auditor General, John Mwanga, said, and I quote, "A sum above 10 billion shillings due to the fund was not remitted by the Uganda Revenue Authority. The failure to transfer the funds in a timely manner impacts the efficiency of disbursements from the fund." End of quote. Mwanga also noted that the funds were neither appropriated nor transferred to the reserve, despite the establishment of the Petroleum Investment Policy, a matter of grave concern for transparency advocates.
On the downside, one could say that the Petroleum Fund provides a ready source of money for infrastructure, which the government might otherwise have had to look for from its regular revenues, from Uganda Revenue Authority, from its non-tax revenue. But because the Petroleum Fund is there, it is easy for the government to say, we will get this money from the Petroleum Fund.
We stopped drawing money from it. That's why you are not seeing it anywhere in the budget as a source of financing. There is money on it, but we are not touching it.
Apparently, this restraint is yielding fruit, and as of June 30th, 2022, the fund's net cash and bank balance had grown to 110.2 billion shillings, all of which remained unutilized. Stakeholders can only hope that this prudence will continue if the fund is to achieve its intended objective. Hakim Wampamba, NBS, Live at 9.